What is a gear ratio? A gear ratio is a generic term that's used to describe the relationship between a drive gear and the gear that it is driving. In an automotive application, this could be the gears in the differential, gears in the transmission, or any other gears that transfer energy from one component to another. When you talk about gear ratios, you are typically talking about the drive gear in a fraction over the driven gear. So if the gear ratio is a 350 gear ratio, that means that for every 1 revolution of the drive gear, the driven gear turns 3.5 times. The higher the number, the lower the gear ratio. So in other words, a 411 gear ratio, for every 1 time that the drive gear turns, the driven gear turns 4.11 times, whereas a 2 to 1 or a 2 gear ratio, for every 1 time that the drive gear turns, the driven gear turns 2 times. Now, there are many gear ratios in a vehicle to consider. The transmission has several sets of gear ratios that allow you to go slowly or quickly depending on traffic and road conditions. There's also a final drive ratio, which is the differential ratio, and changing any of these ratios will affect the performance of the vehicle and the fuel economy of the vehicle. Generally speaking, going with a higher numerical and hence lower gear ratio will allow for quicker acceleration, but will result in poorer fuel economy and a slower top speed, whereas a higher gear ratio, numerically lower, will generally impact your acceleration, causing the vehicle to accelerate slower, but will give you better fuel economy and a higher top speed.